All right, for those of you who just logged on, welcome to our Junior Parent and Guardian Night. My name is Ashley Withers. I'm one of the college counselors at SI. I will be co-hosting this with my partner and friend, Miss Ana Maria Vaccaro. And we also have Miss Campoverde, who will be again on the sidelines answering questions in the Q&A chat. For the agenda today, we are going to discuss a few things. We are going to talk about collaboration and how we are all communicating with each other, the role as the parent, the role as the student, the role for the college counselor. In addition, we are also going to be talking about college planning resources and giving all the resources that are available and that we share to your child as well. And then exploring colleges, looking at the different type of colleges that are in the country, outside of the country, from the UCs, of course, that many of you know, UC Berkeley, UCLA, Irvine, Santa Barbara, Davis, Santa Cruz, Merced, Riverside, to the CSUs, the Cal State, San Francisco State, Cal Poly, Chico State, Sonoma State, to the private colleges, the Jesuit colleges, the historically Black colleges and universities. We cover all of those. So we will be talking a little bit about that, Miss Vaccaro will. And then, yes, standardized testing. We will have a little conversation about that. I know that's like a huge question mark for a lot of parents and students who are concerned about what does testing look like now post-COVID, kind of post-COVID. And what does it look like for the colleges? What does it look like for me as a student? What does it look like for me as a parent? How do I navigate this? And how is SI going to assist me in this process? So no worries, we got you. And then just an important checklist of junior year. What's the plan? What do I need to prepare for as a parent? What do I need to share with, my child, my student, on things that they need to know? And how can I better assist them through this process? Because yes, it can be stressful, but know that we're all here to assist through this process. Go to the next page. All right, so role of the student. I would say one of the biggest things that's important for the student is to be present and just like asking questions, even if they don't know what they want to study, if they have no idea what schools they're interested in, that's okay. That's 100% okay. But being present, start to get their mind thinking. That's what we're here for as well. Right now, we actually just finished our first college planning workshop, our CPWs. So tonight or tomorrow morning, you should ask your child, hey, tell me how the CPW was. I heard that this was your first one. And it's basically a college planning workshop where we discuss different areas of the college process, from research, college exploration, different resources, financial aid, finding the right fit, looking at admission factors. We really touch in on a lot of things. So the first thing is being present, attending these CPWs, attending our rep visits that we have right now. We have over 100 rep admissions officers either visiting in person or still virtually that are here at SI. And it's in the mornings, upper lunch, or after school. So it's never during the school time, actually. So your child is able to meet and communicate with admission reps that are actually reading and evaluating their application, which is great. And of course, attending our X periods that we have as well. We encourage students. This is there's so much access to kids these days. Like even when I was starting the college process, like I would have to log on through the computer and wait 5 to 7 minutes for it to, and then from there, just randomly look up a college on the internet. But now students have it literally at their fingertips. Their schools, there's so many online presence with the universities now, on Instagram, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. your child can literally go on Instagram and find out about Syracuse University, find out about San Francisco State, look up Boston College, look up all these different schools and see what their mission and their values are, literally just in a matter of 30 seconds. So doing research is going to be an important part of the process. And we have more resources. We will talk about that in the upcoming slides. And then by senior year, it is going to be to create a balanced college list. And that's what we're working on with our seniors right now. Looking at schools that are targeted based off of their GPA, based off if they decide to take their scores, looking at possible schools, looking at challenging schools. Of course, we definitely encourage students to challenge themselves and apply to challenging schools, but also apply to schools that you are likely to get into, because we want our students to get into these colleges. So again, creating a balanced list, figuring out their passion of what they're interested in, what they love to do, what they would love to do if they never got paid for it. We've always heard of that. And I love working with kids. I love college counseling. This has totally been my passion, working in education, from higher education to high school. So for me, I don't necessarily feel like, oh my goodness, I'm going to work every day. Like, no, every day is different for me, every single day. And so for students, for your child, ask them that question, maybe, what could you see yourself doing for free? What do you just love to do? And from there, they can kind of hone in on some of their passions and interests. All right, so the next slide, we're going to figure out what is your role as a parent. I know you all do an amazing and incredible job. Being a parent is a lot of work. I have a 2.5-year-old, and every day, every time I see a mom, I'm just like, I respect you so much. I respect you so much. I'd see my dad all the time. I'm like, how did you do this? This is a lot of work. So I know right now you all are going through a new transition with having a high schooler, figuring out this college application process. And, the first thing I would, say is encourage this conversation, encourage dialogue when you're driving your child to school or having a conversation with them in the living room. And most importantly, maybe listening sometimes, right? Instead of saying, oh, maybe do this, let me hear you out, actively listening to what maybe their needs are and hearing them out, and maybe assisting them with those resources as well. Of course, helping coordinate visits and encouraging communication between students and colleges. I think the coordinating visits, if you are planning on visiting in person to some of these schools, some schools are open for that. Definitely please look on those schools' website, because not every school is open to that right now, but it's slowly opening up. So if you have opportunity during spring break or the summer to visit some schools, definitely do that. But also encourage your child to reach out to the representative themselves, right? Taking initiative, encourage them to take initiative. I know sometimes it could be scary, right? But you don't always want to do every single step, right? Some balance as well. Maybe helping them formulate that email to that representative, to that rep admissions officer, but encouraging them, hey, communicate with this college, ask them this question. If you're interested in intramurals, why don't you email them right now? Or if you're interested, in the business department, why don't you reach out to a professor, or reach out to the rep officer? Help and plan enriching experiences, whether it's community service, volunteering, internships, whatever that case is, just assisting them throughout that process. Attending, of course, the college events. First of all, you're here, so that's a huge thing. We have a great turnout right now. The fact that you're just present right now is so much. So again, thank you. And we're going to continue to have multiple events, from SI College Financial Aid Night, which will be in January, to a college night in March, which will have different aspects of the college process, from financial
aid. It's 6:45.
From financial aid directors to UC representatives. There will be, different seminars and panels on our platform SCORE that we use. So definitely we'll be keeping you posted on our different events. And then, yes, money, right? We were just talking about that in the college planning workshop. Like, talk to your family about money. And I know that could be maybe a weird conversation with your 16 or 17-year-old child. Mom, dad, how much do you make? Or what are you doing? Or are you going to pay for my college? Or do I have to apply for scholarships? But having that honest conversation now and looking on these websites, these universities, every single university has a net price calculator where you could input, it'll take 5 to 7 minutes. You can input your income and assets and information, and you will get a pretty accurate estimate of your EFC, which is your estimated family contribution, to see, okay, am I going to be able to afford $45,000 a year? Or, okay, let's look at some schools that aren't as expensive, or hey, you're going to have to apply for some scholarships if you want to go to this school, or we're going to have to take out some loans. Do we really want to do that? Lots of questions. There's lots of questions to really think about throughout that process. So encouraged to eventually have that money talk when you're ready and available. So the next slide, we are going to talk about the role as the college counselor. Okay. We honestly, I love my team so much. These are my friends. They are like my knowledge, my dictionary, my everything. I go to them before making any like major decision, or like, how does this look? What are your thoughts on this? Like, do you think this is okay? And so you truly have an amazing team at SI, and I'm so thankful. So we are here to support your child through the process. If one of us is out sick, or if one of us is at a conference, they don't necessarily just have to come to Miss Withers for everything. They could go to Miss Vaccaro, Miss Campoverde, Miss Wong, Mr. Lorenzo for a question. We will assist them. We will not say, oh, sorry, not your CC. We are like, come on in. How can I assist you? How can I best serve you? So that's our number one role, is really to serve, to serve and assist and really be there and guide, your child through the college process. And it's not always just about college. It's just about, okay, you're coming in my office a little overwhelmed. What's wrong? I'm just so stressed. Okay. You know what? Do you want to breathe for a minute, get some food? Let's take a break. It doesn't have to be just hardcore intense. I had that with the student the other day, and he hadn't eaten anything. I said, go get some food, get some fresh air for 15 minutes and come back. So even recognizing that aspect of, hey, students may need a break. Students may need to breathe. And so that's what we're here to do as well. And of course, guide them through their career goals, their aspirations, encourage them to take a community college course in the summer, encourage them to take that internship opportunity, encourage them to apply for that fly-in in their senior year to a school they may have never heard of. So that's one of our roles as well. And again, we have our college planning workshops. Our first one was this week. Tomorrow we have 3 more based off of your child's resource period. So a few of them might not have attended it yet. It will be tomorrow. And then we have another college planning workshop in November, December, and then January. Again, we discuss every aspect of the college process. So when the spring semester comes up, your child is ready for us to have that one-on-one conversation. Yes, 1 second. Sorry, guys. And so lastly, we also write one of the letters of recommendations for your child. So not only will they ask 1 to 2 teachers to write a letter of recommendation, we will assist and we will submit a letter of recommendation as well. So it is important when we do have that one-on-one in the spring with your child, that we get to know them. They will also complete a survey. So with lots of different questions that we are able to look at and review and really understand what they value, what their passions are, what have they done in the past 4 years. So yes, these are just some of the roles and responsibilities as the college counselors. But again, we wear many, many, many hats. All right. So these are some of our college planning workshops, resources. The number one platform that we are using now is called SCORE. It is a really great platform where you can literally add the schools. There's scattergrams where you can see your child can see and view where they fit in that school, when it comes to their GPA or testing. So if they have a good chance of getting in, or if they may not have the best chance of getting in, it'll be green, it'll be red. So it's a great tool. This is the platform that we as college counselors use to submit our portion of the college application. Your child will submit on their own through the Common App, through the UCs, through the CSUs application portals, or through the coalition. But we also submit as well. We submit transcripts. We submit a mid-year report in January. We submit 3 letters of recommendations, 2 from teachers, 1 from us. And we also submit a school profile. So we have our responsibilities that we submit, and it's all through SCORE, which is a great platform. Parents, you will all have access to that as well. You will create a username and password where you will have access to review and look at colleges, and even add colleges to your child's list as well, as suggestions. And then, of course, they will make that decision if they really want to apply or not. Also, we have junior newsletters that are emailed every month. And I know it's a lot of information. Trust me, it's so much information, but our team works so hard in writing these. And it has everything you truly need to know about the process. So please put it on your calendar, even alert yourself on your phone to just like review it, click on the links, look at the dates, put it on your calendar. It's so important. It's such great information. So please take advantage of these resources. We also use Twitter all the time. It's twitter.com/SI counseling. Do not hesitate to use that. We are always including updates on information, whether it's from testing, whether schools going test free, test blind, financial aid, everything. And then we have an amazing podcast with our SI counseling through Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Wow, these are a lot. So there's many ways that you can tune in the car, on a podcast, reading the junior newsletter, through SCORE and Twitter. So yes, thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it on to Miss Vaccaro.
And how lucky I am. What an honor to be able to serve you guys and be here with you. And you guys are really lucky. One thing is, I've been doing this a long time, since last century. And you have, whoever is your child's assigned college counselors, they care. They truly do advise them as if they were themselves. So do know that they are in good hands. And we're going to give you a tool that's in your hand right now called SCORE. So we're going to do a little quick demo with you guys. So if you have not registered, check your email. Check your email right now. We send out another invitation. If you don't register, once you get that email within 72 hours, it expires. So please go ahead and register, because you're going to be able to get so much information on there. So let's make sure this goes on. Awesome, it works. So you'll have your own parent login that you're going to log into the account. So this is what you're seeing is a parent login. And then here, remember how Miss Withers was talking about, there's so many wonderful resources. Well, let's look at Williams College in Massachusetts, right? So over here, I get to see the campus. I can go even look here at college sessions. Remember how she was talking about there's so many virtual visits, right? Some people say don't leave a pandemic go to waste. Colleges are staying virtual, ongoing, even past the pandemic, where you and your students can go, especially your students, can go listen to information sessions. Also, you have a great tool right here looking at an overview of information. Here are special presentations just from the college. Also gives you national data about the school, other options, also videos, retention rate, how many people come back, diversity, tons of information over here, but we're not even done. Besides getting information here, every year SCORE updates the social media, just gives you a little bit insight. Social media, every college and university has a platform, and this is here for you to check out. But also, this is a great tool for you that you could just kind of compare different schools, ask them to suggest other campuses. You can also go, and if you go back to the homepage, here they give you other campuses that are reaching out to let you know about information. Maybe you've never heard of Macalester. Also, here is great tools for financial aid. And we will have more financial aid presentations for you in the upcoming school year. So this is a wonderful tool that you go on your phone. It could be on your iPad, it could be on your desktop. And this is the similar access that your students have. So this is a great tool. And the key thing is just to start exploring. Don't worry, you could do any type of pressing the buttons. And this will be an important button that we'll talk about later. Because like Ms. Wither says, those newsletters give you the steps A, B, and C, what you need to do as we go through all these wonderful experiences. Okay, so now we looked at SCORE. What else is out there? So let's just see. And before I forget, thanks for putting those questions in the Q&A. Don't forget, Miss Camper-Verdi is hidden right over there, and she's answering all those questions. So keep looking at that information. All right. So when we go back in on SCORE, just remember, we do have college rep visits. So this is a great way for your students to also go check those presentations as well too. All right, so let's look at exploring colleges. So when we went on SCORE just a moment ago, you get to see whether is the school private, meaning they do not look at you any differently whether you're from Massachusetts or not, versus a school like UW, University of Washington. It's a public university. And at that public university, one of the things is that, they do give preference to the people from that state. Though we still, because our students are amazing, get a lot of kids who do go to UW. But then you can also see who are those out-of-state public colleges, and you want to look at those net price calculators. Again, on SCORE, you have those tools to see, well, how much is it really going to be for me, for my family to go there? And if you have multiple kids, hey, how can we budget it? Looking at all the different options. Then, of course, you can learn about the UC system, all wonderful, 9 of them, right? So from UC Merced, all the way from UC San Diego, and then the 23 Cal State systems, right? Again, these are our 2 public school systems. And yes, because we're from California, students have a higher consideration than out-of-state students, right? And UCs are designed to be more competitive. That's part of the educational plan. When our first governor back in the 60s created the educational plan, they designed that to get those students. And then the CSUs were another group of schools, right? They have more of that hands-on learning experience, right? The Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, the Cal Poly Pomonas, there's 23 of them. And it's really important to explore all of them because California is a very popular state internationally. Now, we cannot forget our schools like our HBCU, our historical Black colleges and universities, our Hispanic serving institution, and our Asian American, Native American, and Pacific Islander serving institutions. So those are really important to see what the needs of the students, what are some traits. Some students may choose to go through the community college. If you don't know, some of the community colleges, you can, actually all the 115 plus, you get guaranteed to get into certain UC systems. I have great situation where a student didn't get into UC Berkeley, UCLA, went through the community college route, got into all the UCs and saved a lot of money and also earned an associate degree along the way. So the thing that's important to know in all these colleges, there's 3,000 different colleges. SCORE's there to help narrow that down. And then your amazing college counselor that your kids have can help make sure that
It's
we're
7
looking
o'clock.
at those needs. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. We want to make sure we're on track here. And we're to look at those characteristics. So what are those characteristics to consider, right? It's really important to know that there is not perfect school, right? Like when you're applying to a job, there's not like just one job to apply to that's going to be amazing. But what is that next chapter in our life that's going to challenge us, support us, and you got to have fun. You got to have fun. All those things. And when we are working with our beautiful students, we want to make sure that, yes, they do have challenges, right? I had a student who I was like, wait, these are pretty much easy schools for you to get into. What if you change your mind and you decide you want more of a challenge school? What it was, they doubted they could. So they had that. And then we want them to have possible schools. Admission is very fluid. What does that mean? You know, UC Irvine, just to let you know, was the most competitive UC to get into. Yes, more than Berkeley. Yes, more than LA. So every year the admission process changes. We use data to help us, but remember, some schools are possible, right? They're trying to be really popular because March Madness, or they offer a new engineering or new nursing program. So there's so many different variables. And so we have to make sure that our list is diverse, but you got to have those likely schools. You want to make sure that students like the school, right? That it's likely like, yeah, I'm getting in for sure, but not just pick one. You want a couple just in case it's that year that makes it's been hard. And then also that the family likes it, right? That you know your student's going to be supportive, that you know that there's going to be a great return on investment, and you likely can afford it. All three factors, so important. So that's why it's really important as a family to have that money talk. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I got 3 adults, and yeah, I got another one along the way. And it's necessary. It's necessary for your beautiful students to know where you're at. It helped for me when my parents said, I'm going to love you unconditionally, but you have to pay for college on your own. Well, guess what? Me and my 2 sisters, first gen, all went to college. All different systems, by the way. And I'm doing well. I know my older sisters are doing well, but it helped because knowledge is that power, because then we could coordinate and plan. I know there's some beautiful parents and guardians out there who's going to say, don't worry about it, to their siblings. To their children, excuse me. And then guess what I tell them? I go, that's a red flag, because I've seen families, oh, okay, don't worry, we'll figure it out. You need to make sure that there's balance for you too, because that also impacts them. So do some first internal research about your resources, have your student do that self-reflection, and then research the schools. Find out, everyone has some pluses and minuses out there, to find out which campuses have some great opportunities for your wonderful student. All right, so what are these tools? So we saw a little bit of SCORE, and we also saw some virtual and in-person visits at SI. Majority of them will end the end of this month. Because guess what? November 1st, in a year from now, your students will be submitting the application and colleges will be reading them. So this is a key time to have students do that. But the nice thing is that because all the colleges, you saw that earlier at Williams College, they still have college sessions that are virtual, right? So those will be ongoing, but they will definitely slow down come the winter season because they'll be reading. So you want to take advantage of that. And you don't have to do all of the colleges, but just do a little bit. I'm a big believer of baby steps, but keep those steps growing and coming. Also, the college websites are really important. So much information. Sometimes it could be a little bit overwhelming, and that's why we are there. We are there. Now, also, Ms. Withers told you there. Did you know that there are 30 podcasts and growing? We have financial aid experts who are interviewed. We have college representatives talking about what they want from the personal statements, the UC system, the CSUs. We even have Common App interview. We even have Michelle Obama's Reach Higher interview. We want to do the more for you guys. So this is a great way for you to learn little by little. And then here, there is college admissions interviews. I do want to show you the screen really quickly about it. So this is the reason we want to start the research now, because late spring, maybe in the summer, and they will be doing some colleges will be offering interviews. As a parent, I remember when so many students were doing interviews. I'm going to go back to that screen in a moment. Thank you. And basically, one of the things that I realized is a lot of students didn't realize how interviews were used. Now, not all schools can do interviews. UCs don't, right? Do interviews. Certain private schools don't have a need. But also, it's a great chance to if you don't do an interviews, to reach out to the college representative. At every college website, boom, you just put in college rep, the name of the school, and then you can find out the information. Now, I want to tell our wonderful parents something. Yes, follow the social media of the college, but your student should be emailing the rep, and it's by territory. Yes, that means there is a person on each campus that's going to be the reader and the advocate for that application. So you just want to find out what territory they are. Your students should be reaching out and emailing them. And that's something that's really important for them to do. So please make sure that you take advantage of that opportunity and to encourage your student. Also, college professors, ask the college rep if your student has a special interest. Let's say it's nursing, maybe it's stage management. Some colleges will go ahead and let you talk to some of the deans. But ask the college rep, and I've seen it be really fruitful conversation where sometimes the professors say, "Oh, did you know there's a scholarship for this major?" Money. So it's always really great. And then there's other resources down here. You see how LinkedIn is over here? Yes, LinkedIn, not only jobs, you could see where the alumni from a school, like listed right over here at Lehigh University. Hey, am I going to get that return on investment, right? Some other websites like PayScale ask alums, hey, what's your average salary that we're making? And a lot of times, look, Santa Clara, number 8 in the nation, Colgate, number 12, Stevenson Institute of Technology, 15. Yes, so it's really great to kind of look at different factors and facts versus just rankings, right? So that's something that's really critical to look at as you're going through the process. So let's not go too fast here as I just did right now. But also don't forget, there's YouTube videos for each college campus. Twitter is great detailed information. And here's the nice thing. There is the campus Twitter account. There is the Twitter account to the admissions. There's the Twitter account for the department. There's the Twitter account for the, outdoors club, etc. And then guess what? If you want more of the visual, same thing on Instagram, right? So don't be afraid of being involved in that process. And yes, you can do it and your student can. And if you want to honor your privacy, just make a Carle University Instagram, right? To just kind of look at that information. It's a really important process through searching for colleges. Again, if you have any questions, put them right down there in the Q&A. All right, College Financial Aid 9. All right, you should be doing a screenshot right now, getting that paper and pen. Yes, so College Financial Aid 9. It's a presentation from a financial aid director. It will be on January 13th, 2022. Yes, can you believe that? And then for students, we have scholarship workshops. There's a scholarship right now. Go ahead, Google if you don't believe me. Voice of Democracy. It's a local to national scholarship. Mercy has, before it closed down, had a student win $30,000 in cash. So there's a lot of scholarship and merit and financial aid through the colleges, but it's nice for students to get acknowledged, whether it be the JFK Courage Essay Scholarship. So there's a lot of great tools, but do realize that every college also has a lot of financial aid. Now, everyone's budget's different. Some more, some other. Some give more merit aid based on someone's talent, leadership, who they are, GPA. Other schools will give more need-based and won't give merit. And some will give you a mixed bag. How do you figure that out? Here's a key word: net price calculator. Put the name of the school. During the Obama administration, they required every single accredited school in the nation to provide access for families to look up that information. If you have unique situation, like you have a blended family, still do the net price calculator. And then yes, either the student, but it'd be nice, or the parent or guardian can reach out to the financial aid officer. Yes, that is okay if you're talking to the financial aid to find out more information. This one website, which you'll be discussed at the financial aid workshop, is called My Intuition. It is a nonprofit that works with other schools like Williams College, Harvard, Colgate University, many universities and colleges that give a lot of financial aid. And it gives you a quick snapshot of a school by putting it. And if you are guessing your numbers for this process, that's okay. When you do the actual financial aid form that will start October 1st or senior, then that's a different story. Merit and private scholarships, do you know there's 1 billion different scholarships out there? Key thing is you want to make sure there's no scams out there, right? If they're asking for your credit card. Why do you need my credit card if I need money from you, right? You shouldn't be giving out your social security number. Here's one website, scholarships.com. There's many others. And if you're wondering like, hey, is this legit? Ask us. If your student is always applying to, hey, enter your name here and you can win $2,000 scholarships. Well, let me tell you, I've been doing this for over 25 years. Haven't met anyone who won that yet, but Voice of Democracy, I have. Now, what is the Western Undergraduate Exchange? Remember I talked to you about out-of-state colleges? Well, there are a list of colleges, and I'm going to get the right website for you in a minute, where basically here you get a list of schools that want you, especially if you're not from that state. So basically here gives you a list for you to look at different schools. So for example, University of Washington is a UW in Seattle. It's pretty popular. So they're still going to charge you out-of-state tuition. So that means for us Californians, it's going to be about $60,000 without any financial aid scholarship. The most you get for a scholarship there, FYI, is only $8,000. But Washington State University is on there. So instead of paying that big amount as out of state, you pay in-state tuition. Yes, right? So that could be about $15,000. And for some families that will work. You still can apply for federal aid, but the state of Washington will not give you any financial aid. And what that institution, whether it be Washington State University, some schools like Arizona State University will give you a discount. Think of it as a coupon. But just remember, each campus has different requirements. So you want to check, you see here, check the eligibility. So just make sure, I know it says wechi.edu, yes, but it's also WUI, the Western Undergraduate Exchange. So that's something that's really important to check out. And to look at. All right, so let's go to this. So guess what? We're going to play a video for you. All right, are you listening? It's time to listen because we're going to talk about standardized testing. If you're listening to this and you're currently a junior, I want to tell you that if you feel that there's a lot of questions going around, If you're hearing a lot of misinformation, you are not alone. There are even college representatives across the nation that may say to you, I don't know. What am I talking about? I'm talking about to test or not to test. Yes,
It's
we're back at the subject
7:15.
again. Now, for the class of 2021 and the class of 2022, they are benefactors of being able to go test optional at pretty much virtually all colleges across the nation, maybe except for the public schools in Florida and Georgetown University, some military academies, and others here and there. But that's still a lot of colleges. Like I'm talking about all Ivy Leagues, Stanford, test optional. Hey, Caltech, UC System are test free. But what about for the class of 2023? Who is gearing up possibly for a PSAT, the practice SAT test, to test or not to test. Well, remember, while there may be questions and concerns and some unknowns, one thing you do need to know is that you are the owner of your college process and your college planning. Once again, you need to take ownership of this process. You are in one of the countries that people internationally come and seek, who desire to go to so many schools, whether they've been test optional for many years or they just became test optional. So you want to think of colleges and your college application like this. When you consider applying to a school, you're kind of like ringing their front door. And in the peephole, they're looking to see, hey, let's look at their courses. Let's look at the rigor, the challenge they undertook with their courses. So what they're going to do is open that door. And when they open the door, it's your sales pitch beyond the classes, beyond the test scores. So what happened then for those kids who did go test optional last year? Well, I personally know kids who applied to Johns Hopkins with no test scores. And not only were the doors open, they were asked to come in, or Stanford or Yale or many other amazing colleges out there. And some campuses like UC's and Caltech won't look at your test scores because when they open the door, they want to hear your sales pitch. What did you accomplish in your activities? What did you learn? What awards and honors did you receive beyond just taking an honors class for your academic achievement? Do you have household responsibilities, leadership? Do you create things for your neighborhood that's just outside of the box? Did you create a closet organizer for your mom's all her clothes and shoes? And hey, maybe for your dad or siblings as well? These are some stories of actual amazing students who went above the test, who did not rely on a test score, who did not spend hours and hours on a test and tutoring that will not benefit them, again, would not benefit them for the rest of their life, except for discipline, maybe. But well-being is so important. It's important for you to focus on your talents. Hey, if you are always been amazing on standardized test scores, go for it. Take that practice PSAT, but submit those test scores to those schools where you see your test scores are above average. But if that is not your thing, and even if colleges have not firmly decided they're going test optional, even though they benefited from it for over 2 years, number record of applications, amazing students from across the globe, the likelihood is that schools are going to continue being test optional. And guess what, athlete? If the admissions office is test optional, that means the athletics program will follow usually what the admission says. And guess what? If the admissions also says it's test optional, merit scholarships are also test optional too. So you could spend the time focusing on improving your grades. Maybe take a concurrent enrollment class for free at your local community college that's transferable, like save you money. Apply for some scholarships, some awards, help your community, learn about subject matters at home, about things that you can talk endlessly about and learn from and benefit from, and then add to your sales pitch. Again,
Take ownership with this process. Take ownership of the decisions. Put hours and hours and hours about studying for a test on one day. Really demonstrate all who you are. Many times I'll encounter some people with a great test score and great GPA. But when I say, well, tell me about your accomplishments, silence. Don't let your life be only about just a number. Let your life be about you. And if you're not sure where to explore, go out. Tell people what you're interested in. Think outside of the box. You do not have to do that alone. Collaborate with other people. And even if you fail, what a great learning experience. And if you decide, hey, I don't like this anymore, that's a great information for you as you decide your major possible careers. The key thing is to engage, to be present. So you can show the colleges that you're a great, honorable, productive citizen beyond the classroom, beyond the number. And hey, if there's a college that you love that does require the test and you went test optional, you didn't take the test, you invested the time in you, well, there are lots. There are so many schools out there. Go to FAIR, FAIR test.org to get update information. Contact your college representatives from the college you're looking at. If they have not firmed up their decision for the class of 23 or beyond, say, hey, I'm planning going test optional. I hope you are too. Let them know. True story, had a conversation with a college representative. They had no idea all the stress that was going on. As a former test coordinator, I remember the long hours, kids waiting outside, sometimes in the rain, just to get registered and processed into the test room. I remember how kids are hungry, thirsty, the stress. You have to ask yourself what's worth it for you and what's beneficial for you, short term, midterm, long term. And feel free to talk to various people who are very familiar with the process. But remember, trust your gut, trust yourself, know yourself. And again, you are the owner of this college process. Make those colleges know they're lucky to have you. Until next time.
All righty. Now, a couple of things. I saw a lot of people raise my hand, this and that. Please put your questions in the Q&A. Don't forget, the amazing Miss Campoverde is there to answer all those questions. And if you're like, wait, what did you say in that video? We will send that out to you guys. But please do me a favor, as we mentioned in the very beginning, if you did not register on SCORE, please register on SCORE. Pretty, please. Because so you get that invitation. If you're like, I still don't see it, etc., just email your student's college counselor and we will help you out. So a couple of things, and then again, we will have Q&A at the end. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go over that, but I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So just to let you know, as indicated in the video, there's 1,700 plus test optional schools. There's a list of schools like the UCs that will not look at any test scores at all. And then there's a whole bunch who have always been test optional or continuing being test optional. So your child has a choice. And then there's some that like, like though Cornell says I'm going to be test optional till 2014, some schools like Loyola Marymount University and others are going to say, we're going to need to talk to our bosses and their bosses just to make sure, because this is a business, to be test optional or not. And they will let us, that student know at the end of spring semester. Now, and because there's so many schools, this is something that's been growing for a long time. What do I mean? So Cornell, at the last conference we were at, stated, hey, we're going to be test option for 2024, and we're planning, just want to firm up the data, to forever being test optional. Their words, not ours. Some schools before the pandemic, like University of Chicago, do you know how hard it is to get in University of Chicago? Hard. Was test optional before the pandemic. Why? Because they want a strong applicant. It's really the student who has shown strength both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, their activities, that research has proven they've done the best success rate to graduate from college. Isn't that the goal versus just getting in? And then Caltech just said they're continuing being test free. And again, they're just waiting for more data. But this is an engineering school, one of the top ones in the nation, and they don't need a test score to discover an amazing student. Now, with all these changes, there's no more subject tests. But if your student is going to sign up for, say, AP English Language, deadline tomorrow, AP US History, they will look at those scores, but it's not required. So if your student has 0 AP scores, no biggie. And again, if you have a question, just type it in the chat too, right? If you want to put in your native language, you can use Google Translate to try to put in that information. No, we're not watching this again. And then also for spring athletics, so NCAA was test optional for last year's class, for 2021 and 2020. So there's no been final decisions, but they're following what the trends are, right? So again, it's always those grades in those classes that are really important. And there is so much great research and data, and we're able to help your student to decide whether they should do test optional or not. Now, why is the test not that important? Because look at all these things here, and this is what all the colleges are going to be looking at, right? So for example, transcript review. Those semester grades starting in 9th grade are going to be looked at, and what type of courses their senior year. So you want to have a conversation with your student like, hey, what classes do you feel you thrive on? What possible major are you interested in? If they're deciding like business or engineering, nursing, you want to check those admission requirements to make sure they're set up for the right class and a balanced class. Because here's the thing is, wonderful families, a kid senior year shouldn't be piling on more stuff to do because they have college application. It's a lot of work. It is. And that's why we want them to start baby steps right now, so that it's not so overwhelming there. But piling on more activities is not important, but their co-curricular activities should be something that they love to do. It is quality, not quantity. The colleges doesn't go, oh, look, this person, this number. You have 1 or 2, and if you have learned a lot, if you have achieved a lot in those activities, amazing, amazing, right? And that includes unofficial leadership titles, right? Whether you're the ice cream scooper of the month, I do know that student, or you're also that person that has a lot of family responsibilities. It doesn't have to be traditional titles. Community involvement, even whether it's your church or your food bank, or just helping that neighbor kid across the street, right? So they're looking at that. The key thing is to thrive in enrichment, and they don't have to, a lot of times put the word passion, that's an old saying. They're 16. How are they supposed to know? They don't, but they need to explore so they can thrive. And then they want to also thrive in their classes now. Ask those questions, use those resources. That's so important. Why? Because they're going to ask one of their teachers, English, math, science, social science, or world language, for a letter recommendation. Colleges usually want a junior or senior teacher for a letter or rec. So that's something that's really important, right? And then you want to make sure come spring semester, they're scheduling meeting with us, right? So we get to know them. As Ms. Wither was saying about that college letter recommendation, that we're going to write about who they are. You will have a survey to help us out on that. And then the students will do a survey for the teachers. And then it's very important to connect with the colleges. But it's not just connecting like, hi, I'm here at this meeting, but asking them questions, following up regarding about that, right? So make sure that's a really important process, because it's not about demonstrated interest as much anymore. It's not about checking a box. It's about writing those essays about this what makes you great, this what makes me great, this what makes us great together. Colleges are paying close attention to those statements when they apply their senior year. All right, it's Q&A time. Let's go. And then Ms. Wither is here with me. Yay! To answer all your questions.
Okay, I think I have a question here. Do college AP test scores play into account if admissions at all? Is it harmful to score low on an AP test? So if a student does score low on an AP test, we wouldn't always advise. They don't have to submit it. If they have a 5 or a 4, we definitely encourage them to submit it. It's not going to be or play a major factor in their admissions, but it will, if they pass the AP test, they may not have to take a certain class, and they'll be able to use that class for an elective or to focus more on their major.
Yeah, and then just to follow up, the UCs even take a 3 to get college credit, and I've had even some schools like the former director of admission UCLA is like, hey, I'd rather have a kid take an AP exam than not because they're challenging themselves. But but it's a long test, so just remember it's not the minimum score. Okay, what's our next question, Miss Withers?
I saw one. When are you recommending that students take the SAT, ACT? When should students register? Will SI be a test site? So we have, again, it's test optional, but if students do want to take the SAT, ACT, juniors can take it in the spring semester. Then if there's opportunity for the summer, they can take it in the summer as well. And then most seniors will take it around this time, one last time. So yes, you can take it. You can either take it on your own through collegeboard.org, and there will be sites throughout the city or wherever you live. Same with actstudent.org and SATs with College Board, ACTs with actstudent.org. You could register on your own through those websites. SI does offer an SIT day, which will be sometime in March. That will be included in our newsletters. There will be a registration, and there will be a cutoff date to actually register. So please, once you get that information in the newsletter, please register your child immediately. But they do have 2 options: to do it on your own through College Board or actstudent.org, or through SI with the SAT.
Yeah, and remember, there's really 3 options, right? Do I want to take the SAT test, which is going to be 50% math, 50% language arts, right? Or the ACT, which we're not offering here. So just keep in mind, if you do register outside, we've had some students this semester where they've been canceled. We're still in a pandemic, everyone, just FYI. And that one is 25% math, 25% science, and then 50% language arts, right? English. And colleges don't give preference for one or the other. And the third one, I'm not going to take the test. I'm going to focus on my activities and achievements. Also, I see a lot of parents asking, raise your hand. Please put in the Q&A, because we're going to keep on going, and we want to honor your time too. What's the next question, Ms. Withers?
Okay, with schools going test blind or test optional, is the data prior to 2020 meaningful and relevant if SAT or ACT scores were not submitted? However, the scores are still considered in score. So you, with the scattergrams, you still will be able to view with the GPA. So you would just not use those ACT or SAT scores. You would use that GPA to kind of get an idea of where your student would fit in with that. We don't say like that's like the end all be all. Remember, there's a holistic approach. You may see that a student with a 3.4 got into USC. Remember, it may be context, right? You need some context to it. That student may have been an athlete. May have been some type of connections with that student. So not every single thing is going to be there's accuracy, but also know that some things are case by case. Like, don't say, oh, well, this one student got into with the 3.4. There may be a specific reason for that.
Yeah, and I know who that 3.4 is. They had an amazing audition, by the way. And that's what we're talking about. You notice we kept on saying their talents, their gifts. Don't underestimate that too, as well. One thing just to kind of know, 2020 was a kind of a fluke of a year, right? In admissions, right? People saw results. So if it's a popular school, you can manipulate the scattergram, which is on your score, to 2021, right? But remember one key word: fluid. The admission process is constantly changing. It always is, right? It's very interesting on us and a little bit hard on you. But remember, there's so many great schools out there, and as long as you have a balanced, diverse list, you're fine. And if there's a school that if you put 2021, there's not as many dots on there, right? Green means they're accepted, red means they didn't, blue means they're waitlisted, then go ahead and go to prior years, right? Because there are certain schools that a lot of people apply at and some not as much, right? But you want to make sure you look at the whole picture out there and have a variety on your list. What's next, Ms. Withers?
When should students plan to start writing the essays, especially if applying to more private schools that have heavy writing recs? A lot of students can start, I would say, in the summer or even a little bit at the end of the spring semester. Specifically for the UCs, you could Google them right now and they have those insight questions already. So they could at least start getting their, start thinking about these questions. Some schools may change those essays in the summertime. So I would say maybe wait a little bit. You can create a Common App application and you can see the Common App essay questions. There's prompts. There's 7 of them. You have to select one out of those 7, 650 words or less. And then, yes, with some of these private schools, there are writing supplements. A lot of times those writing supplements are going to be the same, but some of them change, especially with what's going on in the world. So they may add another question, a different question from this year, but a lot of them have been consistently the same for the past couple of years. But again, we also will have an X period where we will bring an admissions director normally to SI, and they will talk about the essays, and we will talk about what's a good essay, what's maybe an essay that we could revise and edit or maybe not discuss certain topics. So I would say the end of spring semester, definitely that summer, try to hash out a lot of those essays, from the writing supplement to the Common App essay to the UC Insight questions, because that's kind of the bulk of the application. Yes, it's your profile that you're adding and you're adding the extracurricular activities, but it's those essays that are so meaningful that you actually have to put in time and you have to write it and then rewrite it and then edit it. So it is a lot of work.
Yeah, and I think knowledge is power. Remember, there's a podcast about personal statement, the UCs out there. Also, did you know that UCs have online sessions as well? Online sessions about how to address it. So it'd be great to hear from the colleges directly about what they're looking for. But the thing is, what students should practice is how to write in the first person. A lot of them have a hard time being honest versus instead of being modest. This is not the time to be modest. So journal writing is just a healthy process, because guess what? It's going to help them personally. It's going to also help them to talk about themselves. Because what I mean by what's a first person, what is that? It's basically an interview on paper. And then the third thing for their interviews, right? We need to talk about how they are great. And guess you as a parent guardian can help reinforce those messages. What's another question out there, Ms. Withers?
Yes, and I also tell students all the time, this is the time to brag. If you're a humble person, this is not the time to be humble. This is the time to showcase and demonstrate and share everything that you've done and accomplished from freshman year all the way up until senior year. With so many schools going test blind or optional, is it worth taking the PSAT if undecided? I would say have that conversation with your child. It's a practice SAT. A practice SAT is not going to be submitted to any colleges. But if they might be considering taking the SAT or the ACT, it will give them a little insight on what it's like to take standardized testing for 3 to 4 hour period. But again, if they really don't want to take it, it's not going to be a necessity. We actually just had a student today that actually took the PSAT online. They just did it online, and they scored, great, and would like to continue and move on and take the SAT, which is great. The SAT does count, and you can submit that to the schools. So if they want to maybe see how it is online first before actually taking the PSAT, then that's fine too.
Yeah, and that website is sat.practice, practice.org. It's a partnership through College Board, who makes the test, and Khan Academy. So really use it where the horse. You don't have to pay a company to do that. Why? When the College Board made it free, they're like the real test. So take advantage of it. But I will put on my parent hat on. You kind of know, right? All your beautiful students took a standardized test to get into SI. Middle school had a lot of standardized tests. They have an idea if that's something that complements them or not, right? So I have sometimes some students like, So remember, admissions is totally different. So that means there's a lot of new opportunities that a student can highlight themselves. So just keep that in mind. And we're here to help answer those questions too, individually with our one-on-one meeting with our students. Any other questions, Ms. Withers?
Any tips on choosing between the SAT and ACT? I know you kind of talked about that, Miss.
Yeah, so basically what I usually tell students, like, listen, are you strong in math? Well, this test SAT, that's 50% math, SAT. And remember, if you don't want to, if you're feeling like, oh, that's a test I should take, and you don't want to deal with the headache, like, wait, what if they close the test center? SI will have an SAT official test, not a practice test, in the spring semester in March. Details will be there. Focus on the deadlines. Now, ACTs, a lot of times, like that science part is, instead of that 50% math, it's just 25% math. It's really word problems, right? Sometimes some of our students have accommodations here in their academics, tend to favor that test. The main thing is ACT, you have to answer it quick, right? And then SAT, you have a little bit more time. It's just the way the tests are designed, right? There is also a practice test through ACT as well too. Again, the website was act.org. But again, do it through the people who make the test versus an outside agency. Trust me, you're going to need that money for college. All right. Any other questions?
Is the PSAT still required for scholarships? You do not, there are many types of scholarships. You do not have to take the PSAT or the SAT to receive any type of aid. But there are merit-based scholarships that are based off the strength of your application. There are national merit scholarships based off the SAT. If they do take it and score really high, but it is not a requirement for scholarships.
Yeah, there's literally maybe, I've only seen what Ms. Withers, like 1 or 2 schools that are test optional, but the scholarship isn't. I mean, actually, I only found 1. And then guess what? That's a great question for your student to connect with the college rep to find out. And is there any other type of scholarship? So if a school's going to be test optional, 90% sure the scholarship's going to be the scholarship will not require the test. Why? Because they have a whole bunch of other activities. You guys are on fire. Oh my God, look at all these questions. Miss Withers, any more?
Okay, yes. If a student decides to test and takes it multiple times, how do schools handle those scores? Are they averaged or do they take the highest? So some schools do super score where they do take the highest of the multiple scores. However, we as college counselors encourage balance and not too much anxiety where a student needs to take it over and over and over again. If a student takes it, if your student takes it in, let's say in March, and they score fairly well, but they want to study a little bit, more maybe for the summer, and they want to take it one more time, then that's fine. But again, remember, these tests are about 4 hours long, and your kids study for a very long period of time, sometimes 6 to 8 weeks. So for them to do that for the entire year for a score that they may not actually want to even submit, it is not a requirement. It's like, okay, should you focus and study completely on the SAT and ACT even though it's test optional, or should we hone in on that AP Calculus AB that's a bit challenging for you and making sure we can get that A or B? You can commit all those hours that you're studying for the SAT. Can we put it into something else? Again, it's up to you. It's up to your student as well. But we don't encourage multiple times of taking the standardized testing.
Amen. Anything else, Ms. Withers?
Will any support guidance be provided on college essays as part of the application process? So we are here as college counselors and assisting them through everything. So yes, not only in the springtime do we offer that X period where we talk about the Common App essay and the UC Insight questions and tips, and whatnot, but we also can revise and edit them throughout the entire fall semester. Our senior English teachers actually incorporate that into their curriculum for the whole month of, I would say, September and October. And they're helping edit, revise. Mr. Benedetti's amazing, Miss Miller's amazing, Mr. White. These are just some of our top-notch English teachers who are, and I look at their edits and I'm learning from them too. So yes, they will have assistance not only from us as college counselors, but with the English department as well.
No, here. And one thing to be really mindful, a lot of students get a lot of adult voices. Our English department is phenomenal, and your college counselors have been listening and talk to the college rep what they want. I have had students like, this does not sound like you. And guess what? The college will know that. Authentic voice is what I've heard over and over and over at this national conference from the colleges. Authentic voice. It's so important, and it's no more about, like, even the colleges, like, where did this unique essay came from? Where did this, I have to have a hardship? I'm talking from like Rice University, right? 45. That means we have to get going. So be really, really careful. That's my alarm to tell my kid to go to bed. So we're going to go to the next question, because I'm sure you guys are tired too.
I actually think that is the last question. So yes, thank you. Thank you for answering that, Ms. Vaccaro. I 100% agree with what she says. I always say they can tell the difference between a 17-year-old and a 45-year-old writing it. I can tell. Even if I'm helping, I'm like, yeah, let's continue your narrative. So it's very important on that aspect, allowing them to express themselves. Yes, grammatically you can help them, and that's what our English teachers are doing, but allowing them to share their narrative and express, what exactly do they want to share with these college admission officers and universities about them that's not necessarily on their application with their extracurricular activities. With boundaries, there are certain things you shouldn't discuss. There are certain things that you can discuss, and we will be discussing that in the spring semester regarding certain boundaries on great things and topics, and maybe not so great topics. So we will highlight that.
Yeah. And then the last point, just want to remind you guys, podcast number 1 from SI Counseling has the college telling you what not to do and what to do as well. I see our wonderful Ms. Kemper-Vera. Is there any couple of final reminders you want to tell our wonderful parents and guardians?
Yeah, there are just a couple of things that have come up. So I've received some emails about parents not receiving their SCORE invite. We've checked accounts, and that's because they have already logged in. They had logged in previously. So if you just want to go on to score.com, put in your email address, and maybe even just forgot your password, and check it out. And if that doesn't work, reach out to your college counselor. And then just a reminder that we will be sending out this presentation in the next newsletter. And if you haven't been receiving the newsletter, please check your spam. And if you still don't find it, then email your college counselor.
Yeah, and the exact website, guys, for SCORE is app.score.com. And while you're doing that, make sure we have their correct address, email, and phone number. It has to be updated on all systems. So please work with your PAC counselor so we can get that all updated. Anything else for my wonderful teammates here?
Thank you again for joining us.
Guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.